Let's take a look at the front pages. It says, City response team passes out. Deputy speakers can vote. Supreme Court throws out review application by Justice Abdullahi, who are taking the first matter to court anyway. Public Accounts Committee refers 100 institutions to police for procurement and law breaches. At the back page, Opera Square Inferno. Don't put up structures on hydrants. Fire service warns. Well, some people are not happy when we say government should be up and doing. These permits for the buildings are gotten from the local assemblies, which are headed by DCs and MCs, nominated by government, by the way, and they report directly to the president. The Republic Press. Residents of Ajibwe beg for health workers. Coming to Ghana was a mistake. Evacuated students from Ukraine lament. Why are you worried about our goalkeeper, Sam Piyale? Asks NPP. Insists Mahama will be the NDC flag bearer. Deputy Speaker can vote. Supreme Court throws out review application. Nana Nkrumah roots for Bawumia Alan ticket. He wants a pair. Aigbe, Manchester, Liverpool, Connecticut, street spies, Tongo, Germany residents. Well, okay. And the Finder newspaper. Upon Nkrumah commends Exim Bank's support for young exporters. Food and energy price shocks from Ukraine war could last for years. World Bank. Fuel station manager jailed 120 months for stealing 398,000 Ghana cedis. Ghana Ports posts 112.67 million Ghana cedis net profit in 2020. Also, a 39.41% drop compared to 185.95 million in 2019. They spent 21 million and 6 million on corporate social responsibility. The Daily Guide. Fresh trouble for bullion van robbers. I know nothing about tested Lithovin, Opuni witness, and beggar MP's trial to proceed. Deputy speakers can vote. Supreme Court insists Mahama proves Bawumia right in the USA. The Ghanaian Times. Deputy Speaker's right to vote. Supreme Court tosses review application, declines to overturn verdict. It comes with a photo of the Honorable Attorney General Godfrey Dami. And Professor Atu Duncan urges world leaders to dialogue, mediate to end Russia-Ukraine war. Ghana's revenue and grants to increase by 37%. Rand Merchant Bank projects. Also, Information Minister applauds Exim Bank for extending support to young exporters. The BNFT, Bank of Ghana to spur economic growth with strong policy support, LC Owaji says so. Accra City response team passes out. Growth estimates shrouded by severe global risk. The Daily Statesman, Ghana Health Service, don't ignore face masks completely. And Deputy Speaker voting rights settled. Supreme Court throws out review application. Comes with a photo of Justice Jones Victor Maulom Doche. He's a Supreme Court judge. Upon Nkrumah, Lord's Exim Bank support for young exporters. And Nana Nkrumah, Bawumia Alan ticket is MPP's surest bet. So he wants Dr. Bawumia and Alan Tremantin to collaborate. Well, Alan supporters and Bawumia supporters, I don't know what you think, but let's know your thoughts and comments on our social media handle, hashtag TV3Newday, and we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on WhatsApp. But 50 years ago today in Bucharest, Romania, Ghana's founding president, Osagyefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, breathed his last breath on this day. It was a Thursday, a day of mourning among the accounts to which the Nzima ethnic city belonged. My guest this morning, James Kwabena Bonfe, he is the managing editor of the National Forum newspaper. Also, Dr. Bernard Tutubuahine, he is a senior lecturer at the Methodist University, and Richard Kumado is a fraud and security consultant. They join me here. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Great.
Nice.
Camila, I'll pick your thoughts and around the table as well regarding the sad demise of President Nkrumah 50 years ago. But happy birthday to Mr. Francis Nkrumah Labadi. This is also from Francis Nkrumah, to Elvis Kofi, SIC Life. Makola Branch, belated happy birthday to him. Also, a happy birthday to Richmond Udate Lamte, is a teacher at Kimbu Secondary Technical School. It's a visual art department teacher. And this is a message from, it says it's crash. Well, teachers are going to be paid. You are crashing on him. Father Isaac Mesa, parish priest at the St. Peter's Parish in Shama Junction, someplace in the west. Echo Annan wishes you a happy birthday. Also, a happy birthday to Barbara Gazy of GTV, veteran, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Happy birthday to you. And this from Auntie Jemima. She wishes you a happy birthday. And last but certainly not least, to Mrs. Abigail Na Yamole Lutroth. That's wife of Councillor George Cassington Cyril Lutroth. Happy birthday to you. Kabila, I started this with you. 50 years ago, a nation mourned.
Yes.
I see you are in black.
Yes, and I am in black, in commemoration of that day, and to commemorate the loss this country, the African continent, and the people of the black race lost on this fateful day 50 years ago. I mean, as I indicated on my status, which you just read, it was a Thursday. And you know Nkrumah belonged to the Nzima tribe or ethnicity, which is part of the Akan system. Nkrumah's birth and his death all signifies very important aspects of some of the debates that have arisen between metaphysics and secular activities. He was a great man, and for me, on this important day, we cannot forget that the country Ghana we have, geographically, was to his credit. Many don't know that the Gold Coast originally was limited to in today's geographical terms, the Greater Accra, some part of Eastern region, Western, and Central regions. That's how come Central region is called Central region.
Right.
It was central within the belt of the Gold Coast. Right. Okay. It was through Nkrumah's organization that eventually we came to become independent on the 6th of March, 1957. He offered hope not only to Ghanaians, but, people of Africa the world over. And this was recounted in 2007 by the first post-apartheid speaker of South African Parliament. She was a guest at the University of Cape Coast in, I think, the second or first Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Lecture. And she showed us a Ghanaian passport she bore at the time to be able to travel around the globe to tell the story that South Africans were enduring under the apartheid regime. Right. There were many who came from even America, including the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to draw inspiration from Ghana. What I want to say is that we who believe and aspire to the dreams and ideals of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, regardless which political party we belong to, regardless where we find ourselves, we have a responsibility to relive that hope and assure Ghanaians that all is not lost, no matter what challenging times we are going through. There is hope, and that hope will have to be offered to Ghanaians, indeed, not by words, but by acts that manifest that, yes, we can do it. And I'm happy, something you said, nobody should get tired to demand of government to do right, because it is government's duty to lead all of us. But government cannot do it all alone without us. We must reflect government and let government reflect us. So citizens have a duty to be sure who they are electing at the local level, assembly level, unit committee, parliamentary, presidency. At the end of the day, you cannot expect that after voting for someone and mandating the person to govern your affairs for 4 years, 1 year into the administration, you begin to blame the person but yourself. You must take responsibility. And I believe that even sometimes, leadership may get it wrong. But if the citizens act right, leadership will take inspiration from the citizens.
Right. Dr. Nkrumah, 50 years ago, left onto the silent harbor. I don't know what your reflections are, but there are schools of thought that suggest that we lost a lot when we lost Dr. Nkrumah, when we literally chased him out and they had to die in a foreign man's land. I don't know what your reflections are.
Okay. I think that Kabila, my brother, has given some historical antecedents to Dr. Nkrumah. But when you look at the legacies of Dr. Nkrumah, in comparison to all the other, presidents, of course, one cannot deny the fact that, he actually built Ghana. And it stems from the fact that when you look back and then you look at some of the infrastructure we are still using, roads, schools, and other stuff, you see that his legacy in these areas are very significant to our economy today. Again, when you look at the industrialization drive of Dr. Nkrumah, which of course you rarely find some of them existing these days, it is something that cannot be compared, to recent governments, that kind of stuff. So I believe that even though there was a chase, probably the people didn't understand, just as the UK citizens didn't understand issues of Brexit. And so people came out from their homes, in support of his overthrow, and others jubilated. I believe that if all these guys were living by now, they might have regretted their actions. Right. All right. And that is one thing that I think that we should look at as going forward as Ghanaians. Being in a hurry to judge, without constructive analysis of what is actually happening on the ground. So you see that people, even when you compare it to our elections these days, right. People form decisions not because they are approaching it from that rational perspective, but probably because of some, things that they have heard, some information they have picked on the street, which probably may be true or may be false. All right. So I think that Dr. Nkrumah's overthrow, to me, was not timely. It was unfortunate, and it didn't help Ghana, as a country going forward. If we had taken our time, to go through his era, learn from him, giving him enough time to do whatever he was doing. Of course, people have talked about issues of human rights and that kind of stuff. But, hey, who says even in US there are no human rights issues, right? So, but I think that we've come a long way. We've come a long way. And I think that I've seen Kabila reading some of his books. Okay. Some of these things, we need to find a way of putting them in our libraries, getting students to read about them, getting politicians to read about them, so that going forward, some people will learn, some of these things and how to impart it in terms of governance. Right. Yeah.
Thank you. Richard Kumado.
I think I want to continue from where Doc ended. I think people have forgotten about Nkrumah and many of the things he stood for. And this is the man we are talking about 50 years after his death. And I think education about some of the policies he instituted around, not just in Ghana, but across Africa, that we are yielding the fruits now. There should be the need of that conscious effort for academia in particular to be able to institute many of the things Nkrumah has done. If you look at his 7-year development plan, which he initiated and which never got to where we are, we need to do more and pursue many of those agendas. And that is the only way Africa will come out of the woes we are in now. I just heard you playing the Komeda Sugar Factory. Right. We link it back to Kwame Nkrumah.
64.
Exactly. And 50 years after his death,
he was thinking about producing sugar.
Exactly. And if you look at many of the things he has done, and I'm not surprised that we are still going around the same thing everywhere we go, no matter how we change it, whether NDC, NPP, not just in Ghana, because I travel around Africa a lot, and everywhere you go, you see footprints of what? Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Just yesterday, PLO Lumumba was talking about Nkrumah in one of his lectures, and many of the good things was saying about it. I will encourage academia to particularly do more to educate the young Ghanaian about who Nkrumah is, what he stood for, and many of the things he did, in spite of the fact that he has other people who disagree with him, and that is life.
Right.
Johnny, can I just read for the purpose of ending this session?
Right.
A quote from him. This is found in the Conakry Years, compiled by Jumel, his official executrix. This is Nkrumah speaking. The world is so beautiful, and man has made such a damned mess of it. The beauty of life is in the struggle.
Again, go over it again.
The world is so beautiful,
Right.
and man has made such a damned mess of it. The beauty of life is in the struggle. 1968. And he said this on, he penned this on August 4. It was a Sunday.
Okay, so let's take a quick look and reflect as well in your own small way what you might have heard about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Some demonized him and some celebrated him, but a large majority of the people today see his worth. And we will show you visuals of when he was brought back and taken to his home town in Nkrumah, and all the grace and glory. I see somebody like former President Jerry Rawlings. I think he was a pilot at the time.
No. When Nkrumah was brought, he was the head of state.
He was the head of. That's right. That's correct.
Oh, sorry, Achampong was the head of state.
No, so
sorry.
this is I see
72.
I see somebody like him there throwing a salute.
But what happened was that when President Rawlings came in the 80s,
Right.
that they sought to
exhumed the
relocate,
body
they exhumed the
and-
body
and
from
body
Nkrumah
to the
to
mausoleum.
as we presently have it.
Anyway.
So that is where he played a role.
The mausoleum is also a mess if you visited there recently. If you have visited there recently, you would have. No, Richard, because you are here, and also because we are all concerned about cleanliness, because one of the things that Dr. Nkrumah was concerned about is the city response team that has been inaugurated. We'll get into the U.S. report and then also the conversations as to whether or not the Electoral Commission is ready or not, if the Asin North by-election is to happen. But the first batch of 3,500 member city response team who will be deployed across the Greater Accra region to enforce bylaws on sanitation and discipline has passed out in Accra. 867 recruits will assist the 29 metropolitan municipal and district chief assemblies in the region, as well as the security agencies in the areas of traffic management and education on waste management practices, and ensure discipline in respect of selling and parking at unauthorized areas within the assemblies, especially in the central business district of the capital. The team will also support the enforcement of bylaws on the cleaning and greening of frontages under the Operation Clean Your Frontage campaign. It seeks to also make it obligatory for all owners of residential and private properties and public institutions and the citizenry to be responsible for the cleaning and greening of their frontages, as well as all open spaces around their properties. You have served before. You are a security consultant. Concerns arrived that, and maybe you put out the visuals. How, for example, this is a good initiative, but people are concerned about the subtle militarization, batons and shields and bulletproof vests and boots and all of that. I don't know how you marry the two.
No, it's a wrong strategy. And once you have the strategy wrongly put out there, you are going to have a crash with the end results or whatever you are doing. Operation Clean Your Frontage. When we're grown up, these local people we call tankers, that they come around and that they come around and once you misbehave or you do not conform, you will be surcharged or something. Johnny, just take a Greater Accra for instance, and let's go to Cantonment, let's go to East Legon, let's go to many of the places we're grown up and we say they are posh areas. Today you go there and there's slums everywhere. We have problem with planning our cities. We have problem with managing waste in this country. And I was worried when you read the story and you said they are going to be taking care of traffic and they are going to be ensuring that people are living properly.
Bylaws and all.
And you want to take them to Makola. No, I think we are just setting ourselves against one another. And that is why we have not been able to manage many of the waste. If it is waste we are managing, with none. Have we not paid enough money for somebody to be collecting our waste? I have lived in London for years. And by the time you get up in the morning, you don't even see anybody in the street because the job has been done overnight. Is it not time to ask for accountability for those who have collected so much money in collecting the waste? What has been the problem? And what has been the relationship between them and the city authorities who signed those contracts? I'm saying that in as much as this initiative will be, the implementation, putting people in direct confrontation with places like Makola, Carnation, where we have left the place to rot in the name of enforcing the bylaws. Johnny, it will only lead to further confrontations and we might not end up achieving the results. When it comes to traffic, are we not using the police anymore? Or the police have run out of numbers?
But this is a support system.
Have you forgotten the baby police President Kwame, President Kufuor created
and
many
still
years?
There.
So I think, no, maybe Doug is here with, he is a man who talks more about strategy. But Doug, I think many of these things we are doing, they are not fitting into the main structure when it comes to city management or when it comes to planning our cities properly and what we want to achieve at the end of the day. And I think in as much as we keep on recycling them, baby police, mature police, town council, clean your frontage and whatever. If I clean my frontage and the one responsible for the bin has not come for it, even though I have paid my taxes to them, then why should I be charged for many of these things? And I think I'll leave it for Kabila and the professor here who talks more about strategy to probably go to AMA and help them out.
I see. Doc, take a bite. How does this sound to you? That first of all, we launched what we call the sanitation marshals. We said we were going to throw some 200 million at sanitation. We formed a whole sanitation ministry, and we said that we're going to have representatives within all the ministries, departments, and agencies to ensure that cleaning is done. Now, a new one has been launched, Operation Clean Your Frontage, and we have put these people, 3,500 of them, but now it's just about 900 of them who have passed out after 1 month military training. And they're going to be paid from the public purse, Controller and Accountant General's Department. So they are permanent workers on the payroll that is supposed to be choked. Just as the gutters are choked.
The Minister for Finance some time ago said that, the employment vacancies in the public sector is already choked. And so we now see that other people are getting, their way into it. I mean, this sanitation issue is very important, right? That we deal with it. But the means with which we deal with it becomes very important. From a strategic point of view, you see, anything that you are doing, it's not about the success today, but it has to do with the sustainability of it. Going forward, the question is, this Insaman thing that we are talking about, how sustainable is it going to be? Going forward, I will want to see a deliberate, action where it is not just about this Insaman, because it is just one component of, dealing with the sanitation issue in Ghana.
Right.
And I believe that recycling is an important thing which we need to look at. Of course, I've seen Zoom Lion coming up with some state-of-the-art technology, and trying to solve some of these problems. Another issue has to also do with the education that goes with people, even our children in the primary schools, all right, in terms of waste disposals.
Right.
And I remember when I was in Legon doing my MPhil, there was this proposal that we drafted as assignment and submitted. And one of the key things that we realized, going around, has to do with attitudinal change. with that attitudinal change, this issue of Nsaman and others, will be there, but it wouldn't work. It wouldn't be effective as we are expecting. So for me, we need to learn modern ways of managing, waste. Then, of course, if we are able to contract some loans somewhere, or we are able to bring some resources together, then, of course, we can tackle it, to the highest level and be able to know that we have put in some level of sustainable measures to it. Now, you see, even when you go to some of these advanced countries, this plastic disposal, all right, they give you some level of motivation to do that. So if I take this water on our table, for instance, and I'm done, and I know that a company like Zoom Lion will pay me for it, other companies will pay me for it, even the manufacturer is going to pay me for it, then I can gather as many as I want, put it in my car boot, take it there, and claim some money.
Well, but then the concept for me is this, that we encourage people to segregate their waste.
Exactly.
Plastic, organic, and all of that.
Yeah.
Then the truck that comes to pick it jams everything together and takes it away.
So that is where...
So I can change my attitude. But if the system doesn't support my attitude,
Exactly.
the behavioral change we are looking for will not happen.
Yeah, that's why...
Secondly, we spent money to put waste bins at vantage points in this country. You remember? I went around and you can't find some of those waste bins.
Yes. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that,
stolen.
you see...
You were taken.
Yes.
Who's watching?
Yes. Attitude, structures, technology, put together. All right. Then we know we are heading towards that direction. All right. So that the one who is stealing knows that someone is watching. And the person can report. The structure take over. And then the person is prosecuted. Right. This is a thing. If the structure is not built well, what is going to happen? These issues of corruption, is going to set in. Finally, somebody will go, pick money into his pocket, and the problem will remain as it is. All right. So that's why I'm saying that we need to bring a lot of things into together.
And Doc, the military training they give them plus the baton, is it part of technology? Is it part of technology? The military training with the baton?
But the regional minister said that they should not abuse
exactly that
the
you are the
opportunities
security
given
person.
to them.
You see, you are the security person. So sometimes if you are not careful, some of these guys go to a place and then they are attacked. So that's why there is a need for some of these training, so that at least they can also defend themselves. But they shouldn't abuse the level of training they are having.
Camila, clean your frontal, green Ghana.
I love to quote the former Vice President of the United States. In his academic life, Hubert Humphrey, 1965, he wrote a book titled The Cause is Mankind. And I prefer to say humankind, so that, we are fair to our female colleagues. I think both colleagues on the set have made this point, that the law is as good as the people who are called upon to administer and obey. If the people are unwilling to obey, Johnny, you will have all the best laws in our country. They won't be obeyed. If you have all the best structures and the people decide not to respect the structures, the good or best structures will be there. They will not be regarded. So I'm glad Doc has made a point. The attitude is critical. But let's not forget, and you were driving that point, attitude itself is a product. It's a product of our biological makeup. It's a product of our societal upbringing. It's a product of our education. It's a product of our exposure and experiences. So, like we learn in, the sociologists will tell you, social facts. What basic things do children learn when they are growing up without anybody saying a word to them? How is a child learning that when I'm holding, I peeled off something from this?
All right.
I must hold it till I get to a dustbin and drop it. How is a father, mother, elder sibling teaching the younger one that? Has it been institutionalized? And when we talk about institutions, Johnny, we are talking about both the soft and the hard. So we need a whole, overhaul of our thinking. But it always boils down to the basics, the home. And I've always said that we are a religious people traditionally. In fact, the proper word is that we are spiritual people. Because religion is a politics of spirituality. But that is another area we can talk later. What is important is for us all to accept that we believe in something beyond what is physical. And so, how is that informing our way of doing things?
Well, again, for me, the question is the number of promises within the sanitation space alone. I remember after the president got a chieftaincy title at Manchagbona, he said he was going to make Accra the cleanest city in 4 years. That's his tenure. So this is another tenure in 4 years. Some people like to stretch it beyond the 4, but his tenure is 4 years. We were told how
we are in the 6th year.
Yes, but his tenure is 4 years. A tenure of presidency is 4.
Yes, but you cannot take away the fact that it is President Akufo-Addo who had the first term and President Akufo-Addo in his second term.
He didn't. He didn't know he was going to win the 2020 election.
But he won.
Yes, so that is conditional. That is conditional. So I'm saying that the period and the review.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about this second term?
Yes. The period and the review for the first, when he made the promise, was that he had 4 years as president.
That's right.
So he said Accra was going to be a cleaner city. Then comes the conversation about the Korle Lagoon or Door going to be changed, it transformed into a world class, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have regalia, restaurants, all of that. Then comes the conversation at the launch of the sanitation ministry, the late Kofi Adda, at the banquet hall. We were sitting in an air-conditioned room and talking about Bola. Then comes the conversation about Accra is 85% clean. Under Cecilia Abunadapa.
Exactly.
Then comes the conversation again about purchasing these beans and many others. If you look at the trajectory and add in Accra alone 16 waste management companies, Zoom Lion, J. Stanley, Wusu, Jekora, name them. Why is it difficult again for us to have been able to achieve what we want to achieve? And now we're adding on 3,500 to a payroll that is choked. Are we just throwing money at the problem? Or are we really committed to solving the problem?
Johnny, so we live a deception. That's the reason. We live a deception. We live a lie in this country. All of us, I take no one out. And I was talking about the spirituality. The 2010 population and housing census with our final results, because the 2021, we are yet to get the final results. I want to stick to the data from the 2010. It said that we are 88.8% Christian and Muslim. The scripts that dictate lives in these two enclaves, supposed spiritual enclaves, is the Bible and the Quran.
That's right.
Each of these very hard rules on cleanliness.
That's right.
So without President Akufo-Addo making the pledge at Manchagbona, without my mother Cecilia Abunadapa becoming Minister for Sanitation, without my late brother Kofi Adda becoming sanitation whoever, the tankers, the sama, whatever, we, on our own account, by election, should have been adherents and enforcers of cleanliness.
Where's vision and leadership?
Now you talked about
where's vision and leadership?
Hold on, it comes in.
Allow Kabila to ventilate it, but I think it's airborne. Let him land properly.
The vision and leadership comes in when we have reflected that. I always say this: don't distinguish or don't create a dichotomy between the citizenry and the leaders. They reflect us. However, it is duty imposed on any leader, every leader, when they have been so elected, to inspire confidence by doing more than what the people did. If they fail, we have a duty to correct them. I always say this, we should not sound too helpless in a democracy. When I say that, what I mean is that you have a right to recall even the president of the republic. I don't know if you are aware of that. This constitution grants us the power
from the people
to recall the president. We can pass a vote of no confidence in the president. We find it too daring to do. We can recall our MPs. We can recall the assemblies.
That's because if you attempt to do that, people say you hate the person.
Johnny,
they've said it.
Johnny, I always say this. You are on a course. You say things that I may disagree with, but you are on a course that I agree to. Let's hold leaders accountable. If I am convinced about what I am doing, it doesn't matter what insults people rain at me. How many insults have not been rained on your set? Sometimes I can't be, people take shots and show to me text messages, abuses here and there. But I am convinced in my mind what I am pursuing, which is a Ghana that I can be proud of. I can't stop talking until we have that Ghana.
I hear you. Doc, you wanted an intervention.
Yes, I wanted. I think that my brother Kabila is talking about cultural and then religious kind of interventions, which for me is good. All right. But when it gets to that platform where there's a political promise, you know, then of course the delivery aspect should come.
Right.
And that's where I probably would want to agree with the question that the president had 4 terms. The first term was 4 years. So on that basis, that the president is saying that Accra is going to become one of the cleanest cities in Africa. Of course, it is a promise that has been set, and the audience or the citizenry or the people of Ghana, you know, expect that at least this is a reason why you came, and so, or we voted for you, so we would want to support you to see you deliver on that mandate. And so if assuming that the president lost in the first term, then it is a promise that has not been delivered. All right. Yeah. And that probably could have gone against, you know, some of his legacies.
Right.
And these are some of the things that, you know, again, I will want to agree with Kabila on the fact that if we are all religious, then it is not an issue of making vain promises or making a promise that you cannot deliver. So before you move on to that stage to promise, assess yourself, assess your resources, assess the environment within which you are working, and say that, yes, I can deliver this within 4 years. All right, then you deliver. Again, we were talking about ex-President Nkrumah, and the fact that people were accusing him of being too ambitious with his policies and that kind of stuff. All right, so sometimes if we are not careful and we set ambitious promises, we end up not delivering. And that goes against, you know, the voter. Because Kabila, who is a lawyer here, will agree that if you promise someone, either verbal or written, and you don't deliver, the person also has that cause to charge you.
That's right.
For that, because you make his situation worse than before.
I hear you. Well, so Kabila mentioned that there's religion and spirituality. I'll give you a classic example. You see where the Sodom and Gomorrah places. The Central Mosque is on the left.
Yes.
The ICGC church is on the right.
That's right.
So the church, the mosque, and the filth in between.
Johnny, but
I'm surprised you are talking about Bola or being in Accra. My big brother Kabila and Prof are talking about spirituality, attitude, and religious.
No.
In this country, hold it. In Accra here, what has been the issue of the bin? Is it that the citizens are not behaving properly, or they virtually have nowhere to dump their bins? Is that not why we pay so much money to these bin collecting companies?
Right.
You remember there was even one we were doing at the end of every month.
Right.
We declared
the National Sanitation.
Exactly.
But that has been politicized because somebody
even if
started
take
it.
The politics out of it. We know that at the end of the month, everybody is gathering to clean up, and the cars were being made ready, the bins were being made ready, so that citizens can even take the opportunity of securing their own bin, cleaning and dumping it in there. But what we do where people Kabila talk about people holding their bottle. We can hold a bottle for so long that we'll never be able to find any bin. And even when we find a bin, the bin collectors are not there to collect the bin.
That's right.
And that has nothing or less to do with the attitude of the people who generate the bin. That is why government pays money. I think the problem is this. With this 900 and the strategy they are taking, we have some job employment avenues to create jobs for these guys.
That's
to say that we have created another job for people in the sanitation industry.
And this time they are on the payroll proper.
Exactly, because NAPCO had issues about payment and all that. So it's another way of government creating jobs to say that we have created jobs, but it has nothing to do with making Accra clean. If it is about making Accra clean, we know the solutions and we have been playing politics with it.
Do you also see, and we'll take a break shortly, but do you also see a future use of these persons who have been given 1 month military training, given bulletproof vests, assault boots, and batons? Do you see another use for them? Somebody is alleging that yes, they are abusing it and using it in a different.
Yeah, it's the same militia we are creating because we have been afraid to use the word vigilantism because of the backlash from the media, and many of the people who wrote about it have gone to sleep. So behind the closed door, we've created another militia and give them military training with bulletproof. And when the police do not even have bulletproof, when we made a promise that we're going to give the police officers who bodyguards the parliamentarians bulletproof, we did not give it to them. And I hope my big brothers Dan Parry and Kofi Bachi and Edward Tabrin are watching, that these young guys behind the blind side of politicians have given them bulletproof when the main police have not even gotten bulletproof. So everything we do is just basa and yama, and we keep on lying to ourselves.
The deception.
We'll take a break. We'll return. We'll have a conversation about U.S. reports on, and I'll see you after the break. All right, welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. Dr. Bernard Tutu Boateng is Boateng, sorry, he's here as a senior lecturer from the Massachusetts University. Also, James Kwame Bonfair is the managing editor of the National Forum, and Richard Kumado is a fraud and security consultant. Before the break, we're talking about city response team passing out and all of that. Yes.
I have left Methodist. So
UEW, University of Education. Sorry, I'm still keeping your old profile. I was keeping Kabila's old profile.
You switched.
I switched. Thanks for the reminder. Grateful. Let's take a look at some report and the reaction from the good old Prof. Enin, who had this to say about what the U.S. had to say about our situation.
This report to me is rubbish, and I think it should be treated with the contempt that it deserves. I think after almost 62 years of independence, we can write our own report. We have a vibrant civil society. We have a parliament, irrespective of its all weaknesses, that is acting. We have a judiciary that we can criticize. The Home Minister has made suggestions about how judicial decisions can lead to certain problems. We don't need the State Department to tell us what we are doing right and wrong. So I think this is a disgraceful report, and we should dismiss it with the contempt that it deserves. And I think after all these years of independence, we should be bold enough to tell them, you know what, this is not right. We have our own capacity to evaluate our problems, our weaknesses, and where we seek to go. It may be slow, but we are getting it right. I am hoping that the Foreign Ministry will be bold enough to write a robust response to this. Unfortunately, I can tell you point blank that they won't. Because when the embassy wrote about unconfirmed and unsubstantiated reports that people could be kidnapped and there could be terrorist attacks in the north, the Foreign Ministry was quiet.
Professor Kwesi there, and he's certainly not happy about the polls and then the verdict on us as a country. Kabila, let me start this conversation with you. We are dependent on the same people we want to be independent from. We are looking at a modernization perspective, but we are still at the periphery. We are not at the core. And then we are looking at globalization, or if you will, glocalization. But then they are breathing down our necks, and if you were dictating to us, like the Prof says, what to do at what time? What do you say?
We need to discuss independence within an interdependent world or society. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that we live in we are caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment called destiny. What affects one directly affects all indirectly. That is the world we live in today. And that is why an event in Togo will have consequence on all nations of the world.
Right.
An event in Ukraine is having consequence. It will be quite unfortunate to assume that an incident in any part of this world will not have ramifications or consequences on your nation. We are interdependent. So in pushing the independence card, we must be mindful. Don't forget that citizens and indigents of all nations are scattered all over the world. You have Ghanaians in the US, you have Americans in Ghana. And for that alone, even if it is 10, a population of 10, for that alone, for one person, it is significant. So I get the tone of the learned Professor Enin. However, I think that as much as I will not put so much weight on the conclusion of that report, I will not dismiss it, but rather say we should interrogate it and appreciate what is leading to that. And I'll tell you why. Recently, as a researcher into Asante and Gonja cultures, colleagues of mine saw an advert and they linked it to me. And here's a lawyer in New York whose client claimed that he was Asante and he was seeking asylum because there was a threat on him to use his wife and his daughter for rituals.
In Ghana?
In Ghana. Today, I have email correspondence on that. Today, Ghanaian, when I decided to probe and go in further, I've pushed to show him that, one, human pioneering or human sacrifices are criminal in our country.
That's right.
In fact, since 1902, that Asante came under the British or the UK government, their laws have operated in Ghana among the Asantes, even if you want to limit it. Okay? And in Ghana's criminal code, murder is criminal at 29. So that nobody can do such a thing or threaten to do such a thing and get away with it or stay away from the law. The law will catch up with that person.
Right.
So I could not testify. But the person wanted somebody as an expert or somebody, a researcher into Asante culture, to testify in a court of law in New York. And my brother, I tell you, the package is tempting. But I told the person that I owed it to my conscience first, to the Asante system, that this must be told as untrue. He turned it around to say that it is no more Asante, but somewhere in Sefi. And that the client got the name. The point I'm making is this. Some of the human rights abuses that may be contained in this report by the U.S. State Department may be traceable to our own doing as a people.
Exactly.
What do we say of ourselves? The exaggerations. Johnny, I didn't have it here, but there was a petition that the NDC, as a political party, under the hand of my uncle Asedu Nketia, sent to, is it the UN or the
EU?
The EU. Did you read that complaint, that report? As if our laws in Ghana were not working. And they used Dr. Puni's case as an instance. A friend of mine. And I said, Dr. Puni if innocent and when innocent, the court cannot circumvent the processes and get away with it. No matter how long it takes, justice will prevail. So I am saying, sometimes it is what we say of ourselves that these foreign agencies pick and use that as data. So let's be careful.
Okay.
And of course, it is also a warning to people in the charge, in charge of or the helm of affairs in our human, rights. I mean, fray, the police, the military, the judiciary, and then the prisons. Yes, all of them. It's incumbent that we take note that we are being watched or we are watching ourselves. Okay. Let's be careful how we treat one another. For me, we cannot be less Ghanaian.
Okay.
And then at the end of the day, we can then tell the U.S. State Department that so and so that you have put out. We want strict proof.
I hear you.
But we don't think this is true about us.
I hear you. Richard, what do you say?
I think
it's borders on security, largely.
I agree. I enjoy listening to Kabila this morning. I agree largely with him, except the religious, the spiritual aspect.
But I thought I explained to you.
Please, Richard and Doctor have not had a bite on this one, please.
Johnny, you know what? Listening to Dr. Kwesieni,
right.
I think he's apprehensive because the report is coming from America in the first place. And because the U.S. has not been fair to so many people, or people don't see them to be living by the things they say, who is U.S. to talk to Ghana about human rights? When you get to the U.S., blacks are being killed left, right, center, and many of these cases have not even been investigated, or the perpetrators have left off the hook because of the U.S. own doings and their laws and what they want to do. And their role they have played globally have made people look at them with a second eye, that when it comes to human rights, we want to listen to some other people and not the U.S.
Right.
But I think what I want to pick from what Kabila says, that let's also look at it to say that those within the human rights environment, the police, the justice, governments, politicians, whatever we do in abusing the right of some other people, we need to watch it because we are being watched.
I hear you. Doc, you have the final word on this one.
Yeah, I think that you see, when you also look at it carefully, you see that certain things that we have discussed here, which of course it has a cultural connotation, as far as the people of Ghana is concerned, has also been captured. To some extent last year we were talking about the LGBTQ plus issues,
right?
All right, and which we all agree that even though the West is talking about it as a human rights factor, in Ghana, we don't see it as such. And it is not something that they can force it on the people of Ghana. So if you capture this in that report, then of course, it is as if you are pushing your culture on us, and which cannot be accepted.
Well, which cannot be accepted. Dr. Bernard Tutu Boahi is a senior lecturer at the University of Education in Winnipeg. Also with him this morning is James Kwame Bonfe, a.k.a. Kabila. He is the managing editor of the National Forum newspaper. And Richard Kumado is a fraud and security consultant. Now, there will be a sword cutting on Friday by His Excellency, the Vice President, Dr. Elijah Mahmoud Baumia, under the chairmanship of Right Reverend Dr. Daniel Silvanus Mensah-Toto. Will be on Friday, 29th April 2022 at 10 a.m. And it will be at Asin in Suta, Asin Constituency Central Region. The Agric Minister will be there, the Lands Minister will be there, Deputy Minister for Education, John Tim Fojo will be there, Dr. John Kofi Mensah will be there as well, and Dr. Ohemeng Are, the 5th Chief of Asin Suta will be there. They're doing the sword cutting for the Adwa rubber plantation. So it's another 1D1F initiative. Usually when I say these things, they don't hear it. But when I come asking questions, they hear it. And that's the hypocrisy we have in this country. They only like to be praised. But when you take my taxes, I'll ask you questions. Happy birthday to our very own Portia Gabo here at TV's for Portia. We bless God for your life and we thank God for all the blessings He bestows upon you. We pray that He will give you some more. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Doris Asitina Mensah of the Ministry of Trade and Industry, especially from Lawrence. Happy birthday also from Chris Coney to Rosemary Beryl Archer, CEO, Deputy CEO of Banking and Business, Ghana Exim Bank Limited. A happy birthday to Comrade Suleimana Adams of Agomenya Zongo. This is from Mustafa Loa Manya Also to Mrs. Abigail Na Yamole Lutrot, wife of Councillor Lutrot. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday to Elvis Kofi of SIC Life Makola Branch. This is from Francis Nkrumah. Happy birthday to Reverend Father or Father Isaac Mensah, Parish Priest, St. Peter's Parish, Shamar Junction, and also to Barbara Gazy of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. We'll see you after the break. There's more here on New Day. Sports, entertainment, all the conversations that we're discussing, male fertility or infertility. I hear the men are not happy talking about it. But today, we'll see you after the break.